My name is Rabbi Eliezer Friedman, and what I'm about to share will likely destroy my 35-year career in Jewish leadership. 3 weeks ago, during what should have been routine brain surgery at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, I experienced 9 minutes of clinical death. What I witnessed during those minutes has shattered everything I've ever taught about Messiah and the future of our people. Before I share what I saw, a vision so profound it's already cost me my position at one of America's largest synagogues, you need to understand who I am. For the past 2 decades, I've served as a leading voice in modern Orthodox Judaism. My books on Jewish law have been used in seminaries worldwide. I've spoken at AIPAC, lectured at Harvard Divinity School, and helped shape modern Jewish thought through my weekly columns in major Jewish publications. I'm not sharing these credentials to boast, but to emphasize that what I'm about to tell you comes from someone of sound mind and established reputation. I'm a man of science and reason. I hold a doctorate in ancient Near Eastern studies. I've spent my life analyzing texts, not chasing mystical experiences. The morning of September 12th began like any other. I was scheduled for surgery to remove what doctors believed was a benign tumor. My wife Rachel kissed me goodbye. My 3 children, all successful professionals, waited in the hospital lobby. None of us knew that this routine procedure would become the moment that would unravel everything we thought we knew about our faith. The first sign that something was wrong came 3 hours into the surgery. My neurologist, Dr. Sarah Klein, would later tell me that my brain activity suddenly flatlined. For 9 minutes, by all medical standards, I was clinically dead. What happened during those 9 minutes has compelled me to risk everything to share this message. But before I tell you about my encounter with the one our people have misunderstood for over 2 millennia, and the urgent message I received about what's coming in 2024, you need to understand something crucial. I am not mentally ill. I am not seeking attention. I am not being paid by any religious organization. In fact, since sharing this experience with my family and close colleagues, I've lost my position at Beth Torah, my marriage is in shambles, and my children barely speak to me. What compels me to speak is the urgency of what I witnessed. Time is running out, and what I saw in those 9 minutes changes everything we thought we knew about our ancient prophecies, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and a discovery that's about to shake the foundations of Judaism. What happened next defies all medical explanation. The surgical team's records show that at 10:47 a.m., my brain activity ceased completely. Dr. Klein immediately began emergency protocols. But what she and her team couldn't see was that my consciousness had entered what our ancient sages called the Pardes, the divine realm. The first thing I noticed was the language. As someone who has studied Hebrew for over 4 decades, I was stunned to find myself immersed in what I can only describe as Proto-Hebrew, the pure language that existed before Babel. Every word carried layers of meaning that our modern translations have lost. I found myself in what appeared to be a vast library. But unlike any earthly archive, these scrolls were made of light itself. Standing before me was someone I immediately recognized, Rabbi Akiva, one of our greatest sages. But he wasn't as our texts describe him. His face bore an expression of profound grief. "Eliezer," he said, using my Hebrew name, "we misunderstood the prophecies. Our interpretations were clouded by our persecution, our pride, our fear." He gestured to a scroll floating before us, and I recognized the text of Isaiah 53. But as I read it, the words rearranged themselves, revealing meanings we had deliberately ignored for centuries. Before I could process this, another figure approached, my own grandfather, his eyes filled with tears as he spoke. What we taught was incomplete. The signs were always there, hidden in plain sight in our own Torah. But what happened next shook me even more deeply. The library began to fill with a light different from anything in creation. Every scroll, every letter, every word became illuminated with living truth. Through this light, I heard what our prophets called the still small voice, but it carried the power of thunder. The message I received was clear and urgent. 3 specific events are about to unfold. Beginning in early 2025, first, an archaeological discovery will be made near the Dead Sea that will force us to re-examine everything we thought we knew about our ancient texts. I was shown exactly where this discovery will be made. Details I've shared with specific archaeologists who are verifying these locations now. Second, but before I reveal the second and third events, you need to understand something crucial about what was shown to me regarding the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a pattern hidden within them that none of our scholars have noticed, a pattern that points to specific dates in 2025 and 2026. The second revelation was even more startling. I was shown a series of interconnected events that will begin at the Western Wall during Passover 2025. A discovery will be made beneath the plaza, near Wilson's Arch, that will challenge both Jewish and Christian understanding of temple history. But what makes this discovery particularly significant isn't just its archaeological importance, it's what will be found written on it. I was shown ancient text, in a form of Hebrew I'd never seen before, that perfectly bridges the gap between our most controversial prophecies. Think about this. For centuries, we've struggled to reconcile certain messianic prophecies that seem to contradict each other. How could Messiah be both a suffering servant and a conquering king? How could he bring both peace and judgment? The answer has been literally buried under our feet for 2 millennia, but here's where it becomes urgent. I was shown that this discovery will be followed by a series of events that will shake the Jewish world to its core. A prominent Kabbalist in Jerusalem will come forward with what appears to be irrefutable evidence about Messiah's identity, but I was warned that this will be a crucial test for our people. 3 major rabbinical councils will make unprecedented announcements about messianic prophecies. A peace agreement will be proposed that seems to solve the Temple Mount dispute. The third revelation was the most personal and devastating. I was shown how our own Jewish educational system has systematically misinterpreted key prophetic texts. Not out of malice, but out of a kind of spiritual blindness that was predicted in our own scriptures. I saw how we've been teaching a version of Judaism that's incomplete, like having only half the pieces of a puzzle and trying to force them to make a complete picture. In this vision, I was taken through specific passages in Ezekiel, Daniel, and Zechariah. The interpretations we've taught for centuries were peeled away like layers of old paint, revealing the original meaning beneath. What I saw there left me weeping, both for joy and deep sorrow. Joy at the truth revealed, sorrow for how long we've missed it. But the most shocking part was yet to come. I was shown a gathering that will take place in Jerusalem in late 2025. Religious leaders from across the Jewish world will convene in response to these discoveries. What happens at this gathering will divide the Jewish community worldwide. Some will recognize the truth, while others will cling desperately to traditional interpretations, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. I was given specific instructions about preparing our people for what's coming. 1. We must re-examine our understanding of Zechariah 12:10. The traditional interpretation we've taught is fundamentally flawed. 2. There's a pattern in the Torah that appears every 70 verses, pointing to events that will unfold between 2024 to 2025. 3. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain a hidden message about this time period that will be revealed through the new discovery. Since my return from this experience, 3 things have already happened exactly as I was shown. A previously unknown cave was discovered near Qumran last month. Unusual phenomena have been reported at the Western Wall, exactly where I was shown the discovery will be made. Ancient Hebrew texts have been found that align precisely with what I was shown. The personal cost of sharing this message has been devastating. The day after I first spoke about my experience to my colleagues at Beth Torah, I was called before the board of directors. These were men I'd known for decades, friends who had celebrated at my children's weddings, who had studied Torah with me countless nights. They gave me a choice: recant my story or resign. When I refused to deny what I'd seen, I was asked to leave immediately. My wife Rachel, who has stood by my side for 32 years, now sleeps in our guest room. She believes the surgery changed my brain, that perhaps the tumor caused hallucinations. My son Daniel, a neurosurgeon himself, speaks of temporal lobe anomalies and post-operative trauma. My daughters won't bring my grandchildren to visit anymore. But how can I stay silent? The weight of what I witnessed presses on me day and night. The voices of Rabbi Akiva and my grandfather echo in my dreams. The urgency of the message burns like fire in my bones, just as Jeremiah described. Let me be clear about something. I'm not claiming to be a prophet. I'm not starting a new movement or seeking followers. What I am doing is warning our people about what's coming, and it's coming soon. The discoveries I mentioned earlier are just the beginning. During those 9 minutes of clinical death, I was shown something else, a pattern in our history that repeats itself every 70 years. This pattern points to 2024 as a crucial turning point. The ancient sages knew about this cycle, but this knowledge was lost during the destruction of the Second Temple. It's hidden in plain sight in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and when the new discovery is made, it will be undeniable. I was also shown why we've been unable to see these truths until now. There's a spiritual veil that's been over our eyes, one that was prophesied in our own scriptures. This veil is beginning to lift, not because of anything we've done, but because the time appointed by the Holy One is approaching. The most difficult part of this message for our people to accept will be the identity of Messiah himself. What was revealed to me about this shook me to my core. The traditional arguments we've used to reject certain claims about Messiah's identity were based on misunderstandings of our own texts. I saw how we've inherited interpretations that were influenced more by our historical circumstances than by truth. In the coming months, you'll begin to see the signs I've described. When the discovery is made at the Western Wall, remember my words. When the ancient texts are found that confirm what I'm telling you, understand that these aren't coincidences. These are the final pieces of a puzzle our people have been trying to solve for 2 millennia. The time of preparation is short. The window we have to understand and accept what's coming is closing quickly. I've already seen the beginning of the signs in Jerusalem. Last week, during prayers at the Western Wall, unusual lights were reported exactly where I was shown the discovery will be made. 3 days ago, archaeologists announced new findings near Qumran that align precisely with what I witnessed in my vision. What I'm about to share may sound incredible, but I must emphasize that everything I've seen is grounded in our own texts, our own prophecies, our own history. During my vision, I was shown a sequence of events that will unfold like falling dominoes, each one triggering the next. The light that filled that celestial library showed me something remarkable about the Dead Sea Scrolls, specifically fragments we've dismissed as unimportant. These fragments contain a code, a message meant specifically for this generation. When the new discovery is made, it will include a scroll written in 3 ancient languages simultaneously: Proto-Hebrew, Aramaic, and a third script I was told not to reveal yet. This document will serve as a key to understanding prophecies we've misinterpreted for centuries. But here's what troubles me most. I was shown that many of our religious leaders will initially reject this evidence. Their resistance will create a deep divide within our community. I saw gatherings at synagogues where heated debates will turn into physical confrontations. This is why I'm speaking out now, to prepare hearts for what's coming. During those 9 minutes, I experienced something that changed my understanding of time itself. I saw how our linear perception of prophecy has blinded us to its cyclical nature. The events of 2024 and 2025 will mirror patterns from our history, from the time of the First Temple destruction, from the Maccabean period, and from the Bar Kokhba revolt. But this time, the pattern will complete itself. The vision showed me scenes from our future that left me trembling. I saw Jerusalem transformed, not by human hands, but by events that defy natural explanation. I witnessed gatherings at the Western Wall where supernatural manifestations will occur in full view of thousands. These events will be recorded, documented, and debated worldwide. What makes this especially urgent is the timing. The medical records from my surgery show something inexplicable. During those 9 minutes of clinical death, the monitoring equipment recorded patterns that my neurologist says are impossible. Dr. Klein has written a detailed report about this, which she's presenting to a medical conference next month. The patterns recorded match ancient Hebrew letters, forming words that none of the medical staff could have known or created. Since my experience, I've been contacted by other rabbis who've had similar revelations, but have been afraid to speak out. Just last week, a prominent rabbi from Jerusalem called me in the middle of the night. He described a dream that perfectly matched details from my vision, details I hadn't shared publicly. This is happening more frequently now, as if a veil is being lifted from many eyes simultaneously. The ancient sages taught that truth would come to our people like water flowing from multiple springs, eventually forming a river that cannot be ignored. What's happening now matches this exactly. The revelations are coming from multiple sources: archaeological discoveries, ancient texts, supernatural experiences, and even scientific findings that confirm our most ancient prophecies. Let me share something I haven't told anyone else yet. During my vision, I was shown a specific date in the Hebrew calendar. The date I was shown was the 15th of Nisan, 5784, which falls during Passover 2024. This wasn't chosen arbitrarily. Just as our ancestors experienced redemption on this date in Egypt, a new type of exodus is approaching. But unlike the physical liberation from Egypt, this will be a spiritual awakening that will shake the foundations of everything we've built our modern Jewish identity upon. During my vision, I was shown how this date connects to a mathematical sequence hidden in the Torah. Every 70th letter in specific passages forms words that describe events happening right now. I've spent the last 3 weeks working with a colleague who specializes in Torah codes, and what we've found has left us speechless. The patterns predict not only the exact date, but also the location of the coming discovery. The most difficult part of this message isn't just the revelation itself, it's the personal transformation it demands. In those 9 minutes, I experienced what our prophet Ezekiel described as a new heart and a new spirit. I felt decades of religious training and theological certainty strip away, leaving only raw truth. The experience was both terrifying and liberating. Let me describe what I saw regarding the Western Wall discovery. Beneath Wilson's Arch, approximately 7 meters below the current prayer plaza, lies a sealed chamber. This chamber contains scrolls that were hidden there during the Second Temple period. But these aren't just any scrolls. They're copies of prophetic works we thought were lost forever, including the complete text of a document only partially preserved in the Dead Sea Scrolls. What makes this discovery particularly significant is its content. These texts will reveal a prophetic timeline that perfectly bridges the gap between ancient prophecies and current events. They will explain why our people have been unable to recognize Messiah, and more importantly, they will provide irrefutable evidence of his identity. Since my experience, strange things have been happening in my daily life. Hebrew letters appear to glow on the pages of my Torah scroll. During my prayers, I receive insights into scriptures that I've studied for decades, but never truly understood. Last week, while teaching a small group of students who still meet with me secretly, the room filled with a scent that everyone recognized as the same fragrance described in the Talmud as being present in the Holy of Holies. The medical team at Mount Sinai Hospital has been unable to explain my complete recovery. The tumor that was the reason for my surgery has completely vanished. Dr. Klein has documented everything, and her report includes something remarkable. During those 9 minutes of clinical death, the EEG machine recorded patterns that, when mapped out, form Hebrew words from the Book of Daniel. But there's something even more urgent I must share. During my vision, I was shown 3 specific warnings for our people. The first warning was about a deception that's coming, one so convincing that it will almost deceive even the most learned among us. I saw how a charismatic figure will arise within our own community, someone with seemingly supernatural knowledge of our texts. This person will perform signs that appear to fulfill certain prophecies, but I was shown clearly that this is not the true Messiah. The deception will be so subtle, so deeply rooted in our own traditions, that questioning it will seem like questioning the Torah itself. The second warning was more personal and cuts to the heart of modern Judaism. I was shown how our current religious system, with all its beautiful traditions and customs, has become in many ways like the golden calf, a substitute for true connection with the Holy One. This isn't to say our traditions are wrong, but rather that we've allowed them to become an end in themselves, rather than a means to true spiritual connection. The third warning was the most severe, and I hesitate even now to share it. But I was told explicitly that silence would make me culpable. I saw a coming division within our people, more severe than anything since the destruction of the Second Temple. This division won't be between secular and religious Jews, as many expect, but within the religious community itself. The catalyst will be the discoveries I mentioned earlier, but the real issue will be much deeper. It will be about our very identity as Jews. During those 9 minutes, I experienced what felt like years of conversation with ancient sages. Rabbi Akiva showed me how certain passages in the Talmud had been deliberately misinterpreted out of fear rather than truth. My grandfather, with tears in his eyes, explained how even his martyrdom in Auschwitz had been based on an incomplete understanding of who we are as a people. The light that filled that celestial library showed me scrolls that contained our true history, not just what was written by the victors or preserved by survivors, but the actual events as they occurred. I saw how key moments in our history had been misunderstood, misinterpreted, and sometimes deliberately altered to protect our people during times of persecution. But now, the time of full revelation is upon us. The protective veil that has kept us from seeing these truths is being lifted. This process will be painful, like eyes adjusting to bright light after centuries of darkness. Many will want to retreat back into familiar shadows. Others will deny what they're seeing entirely. Last week, something happened that confirmed the timing of all this. During my regular morning prayers, I experienced another brief vision. This time, I saw the exact location where the first discovery will be made. I was shown archaeological tools laying in a specific pattern and a wall with distinct markings. 2 days later, I saw these exact images in a newspaper article about recent excavations near the Western Wall. The time of preparation is almost over. The window we've been given to understand and accept what's coming is closing rapidly. I've already seen the beginning of the signs in Jerusalem. What I'm about to share will sound impossible, but I must emphasize that these events have already begun unfolding. 3 nights ago, while praying in my study, I received another vision, shorter but even more intense than my near-death experience. I saw a sequence of events that will begin this coming spring, starting with an unusual astronomical phenomenon that will be visible over Jerusalem for 3 consecutive nights. This phenomenon will coincide with the discovery I mentioned earlier, but there's something crucial about this timing that I haven't shared yet. The astronomical event will mirror exactly what was recorded in ancient texts found in the Cairo Geniza, texts that have been misunderstood until now. I was shown how these documents contain a precise astronomical code, waiting for this specific moment in history to be understood. During my original vision, I saw how modern technology will play a crucial role in validating these discoveries. Advanced imaging techniques will reveal layers of text in the newly discovered scrolls that are invisible to the naked eye. These hidden layers will contain information about our present time that would have been impossible for ancient scribes to know through natural means. But here's what troubles me deeply. I was also shown how this evidence will be suppressed. Certain influential figures in both religious and academic circles will attempt to prevent these discoveries from becoming public knowledge. I saw specific meetings where decisions will be made to hide these findings, but I was also shown that their efforts will ultimately fail. The most difficult part of this message relates to what I saw about our current religious leadership. Many of our most respected rabbis will face a crisis of faith unlike anything since the time of the Second Temple. Some will choose to remain silent even after seeing the truth, fearing the consequences of speaking out. Others will actively oppose the revelation, not out of malice, but out of a desperate attempt to preserve what they believe is the purity of our faith. Let me share something that happened just yesterday. While studying Torah with a small group of students who still meet with me secretly, the room suddenly filled with a light that everyone present witnessed. The pages of our texts began to emit a soft glow, and several students reported seeing Hebrew letters floating above the books. One student, a skeptical young man studying to be a doctor, recorded the entire incident on his phone. The footage shows inexplicable light phenomena that scientists who viewed it cannot explain. The timing of all this is not coincidental. The ancient sages taught that before the final redemption, there would be a period of unprecedented revelation and simultaneously unprecedented confusion. We are entering this period now. The signs are appearing with increasing frequency. The unusual lights reported at the Western Wall have now been witnessed by hundreds of people. The patterns these lights form match exactly with what I was shown in my vision. Last week, a group of archaeologists working near the southern wall excavations found something they've kept from the public. But I was shown this discovery in my vision and can describe it in detail. The archaeological discovery I mentioned involves a sealed chamber containing artifacts that directly challenge our current understanding of Second Temple period worship. But what makes this discovery extraordinary isn't just the artifacts themselves, it's the manner in which they were found. The team wasn't even looking for them. They were conducting routine preservation work when ground-penetrating radar revealed something that shouldn't have been there, a chamber that appears on no historical records or maps. Inside this chamber, which has yet to be opened fully, initial readings show the presence of parchment materials preserved in conditions similar to those of the Dead Sea Scrolls. But unlike Qumran, these texts appear to have been sealed deliberately, with specific instructions for when they should be found. The timing of this discovery aligns perfectly with what I was shown in my vision. During my near-death experience, I was given understanding of why these revelations are happening now. Our sages taught that time isn't linear but cyclical, moving in patterns of 70 years. We're approaching the completion of one such cycle, but this time, it's different. This cycle corresponds to ancient prophecies about the final generation, before the Great Revelation. Let me share something deeply personal that happened 3 days ago. I was studying the book of Daniel late at night, when suddenly the Hebrew letters began rearranging themselves before my eyes. What I saw was a hidden message encoded in the text, visible only when certain letters are viewed in a specific sequence. This wasn't like the popular Torah codes. This was something far more profound. The message revealed specific details about events that are about to unfold in Jerusalem. The most startling aspect of these revelations concerns the true identity of Messiah. What I was shown completely transforms our traditional understanding, but in a way that actually aligns perfectly with our ancient text when properly understood. The problem isn't with the prophecies themselves, it's with how we've been reading them. I was shown how our ancestors, particularly after the Bar Kokhba revolt, deliberately reinterpreted certain prophetic texts to protect our people from persecution. These reinterpretations became so deeply embedded in our tradition that we forgot they were adaptations rather than original understandings. The scrolls that will be discovered will prove this beyond any doubt. But there's something even more urgent that I must share. During my vision, I was shown 3 specific dates in the coming year when crucial events will occur. The first of these dates is approaching rapidly. On the evening of the second day of Nisan, 5784, just before Passover, the first event will occur. I was shown that on this specific night, something will be discovered during routine maintenance at the western wall that will force an emergency closure of the plaza. This discovery will coincide with an astronomical alignment that our ancient prophets wrote about, a configuration that occurs only once every 2,000 years. The second date falls on Shavuot, when an unprecedented gathering of rabbinical authorities will convene in Jerusalem. During this gathering, 3 elderly Kabbalists will simultaneously announce identical visions they've received, confirming everything I'm sharing today. Their testimony will cause a seismic shift in rabbinic circles worldwide. The third date, and this is what brings me to tears even now, will be on Tisha B'Av. But unlike every other Tisha B'Av in our history, this one will transform from mourning to celebration, just as our prophets foretold. What happens on this day will be broadcast globally, and no one will be able to deny its significance. I understand how incredible all this sounds. 3 months ago, I would have dismissed someone making these claims as delusional. But the evidence is already manifesting. The unusual phenomena at the Western Wall have been documented by multiple sources. The archaeological discovery I mentioned has been quietly verified by 3 independent teams. And most convincingly, other rabbis are beginning to come forward with similar revelations. Let me be clear about what's at stake here. This isn't just about religious belief or theological debate. What's coming will affect every Jew on earth, regardless of their level of observance. The choice each of us faces will be stark and personal. Will we have the courage to accept truth when it challenges everything we've built our lives upon? I've lost my position, my reputation, and possibly my family for sharing this message. But as I was shown in my vision, these personal losses are nothing compared to the weight of remaining silent. Our people stand at the threshold of the greatest revelation since Sinai. But just as then, we have to choose whether to approach the mountain or stay in our comfortable distance. To those who hear this message, the time for preparation is now. Study the prophecies I've mentioned. Watch Jerusalem. When you see these signs begin to unfold, remember that you were warned. But most importantly, keep your heart open to truth, even when, especially when, it challenges everything you thought you knew. Because what's coming isn't just another chapter in our history, it's the fulfillment of everything our prophets foresaw, everything our sages hinted at, everything our people have waited for through centuries of exile and return. The veil is being lifted, the signs are appearing, and the time of decision is upon us. The choice now lies with each of you. As for me, I've seen what's coming, and I can no longer remain silent. May the God of our fathers grant us all the wisdom and courage for what lies ahead. For those who seek to verify and understand these revelations more deeply, I've established several ways to stay informed and prepared. I've documented everything from my experience, including medical records, witness testimonies, and the subsequent phenomena, in a comprehensive report. This documentation, along with ongoing updates about the unfolding signs, is available through my private newsletter. I'm not charging for this information. Truth should never come with a price tag. To my fellow rabbis and Jewish scholars, I'm available for private consultations to share additional details that I've been instructed to reveal only to those in religious leadership. Contact me directly at rabbifriedman@protonmail.com. A final word of caution: in the coming months, many will claim to have similar revelations. I was warned about this in my vision. Test everything against the prophecies and signs I've outlined. The truth will validate itself through the unfolding of events exactly as described. Remember the dates I've shared. 2nd of Nisan, 5784. Shavuot, 5784. Tisha B'Av, 5784. When you see these events unfold exactly as I've described, you'll know the time has come to make your choice. May the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob open all our eyes to see what has been hidden, and give us courage to embrace the truth, no matter the cost.